Hey guys, in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Top Gun Maverick. But before that, we are going to be talking about The Boys Season 3, the first 3 episodes, the premiere, and then the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's all time-stamped, so join us!
Hello and welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinks. My name is Justin. Normally you'd be hearing Chris's voice right now, but he can't be with us this week. So for today, I am joined by a man who can ride my tail anytime. Mike, how are you? I'm
doing well, sir. Thank you. That is a good segue there. Do they say that in the new one?
I think says it to... well, spoiler alert, I guess.
All right. Anyways, if this is your first time listening, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about film and TV news, or more realistically, just the movies and TV that we specifically have been watching. Then we move into our feature review. And like I said at the top of the show, this week we are discussing Top Gun Maverick.
That's right. And also here on the Casual Cinecast, every other week, or really just about every other episode, we put out a Casually Criterion episode. In these episodes, listeners choose a film from the Criterion Collection for us to review by voting in a poll that we put out on our Twitter account. So look forward to our next Criterion poll, our next episode. Also go back in the back catalog for a ton of other Criterion content, plus our most recent one was on Fellini's 8.5, so that was a big one. And coming up next, we have a poll winner. Mike, tell them what our next episode, our Criterion episode, will be.
Absolutely. So we choose a theme for every poll that we do. And so we chose Cannes Film Festival winners. Just in the past, it won something at the Cannes Film Festival and also happens to be in the Criterion Collection. Mm-hmm. So here we go. Without further ado, I guess I'll start with 3. The third place is The Leopard, chosen by our very own Chris Reeves. And it was last place with 17.6%.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Second was Blow Up with 35.3%. That was chosen by my good friend Justin here.
Yep.
But then I think Chris even said he voted for that instead, so I don't feel too bad for Chris losing on The Leopard.
Yeah, he didn't even vote for that.
Even he didn't choose it, I don't think. And then the winner, number 1, with 47.1%, was David Cronenberg's Crash, which is, of course, not the Oscar-winning Crash from 2004 or whatever it was.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. And as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, I'm pretty sure Crash won because it's not more beloved than Blow Up, I don't think. But right now, Crimes of the Future hit just this week. And I think we rode that Cronenberg high.
Yeah, I think so. And to clarify, not earlier in the show, but before we were recording, just in case the listener is confused and they missed the whole conversation.
We're like 2 minutes into the show right now, so that makes sense.
But I agree. At first I was kind of surprised when I saw the results. I was like, what? Mm-hmm. I felt like Blow Up had it in the bag, but you're right. Crimes of the Future. Viggo Mortensen, you mentioned to me off air that he had that
passionate defense of Crash the other day, even though he's not in Crash. I think he just likes Cronenberg.
Yeah. I was going to say criticism of Titan, but I guess it's not really. It's just Crash is better than Titan. So
yeah. But it's weird to compare them.
It is and it isn't. Like, I get it, but they're not the same movies.
Yeah, I don't think they're even trying to do the same things. So it's just, whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about Crash. Obviously,
we will.
In the next episode.
We're going to review it.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, that poll is on our Twitter account. You can follow us there at Casual Cinecast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Casual Cinecast as well. So you can follow us on any of those places. If you want to send us messages or questions about the movies we're reviewing each week, you can send a message to any of those social media accounts or to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, you like the show, you want to let other people know we're a good show, give us a 5-star review, 10-star review, 20-star review, however many they let you.
That's right. And thanks in advance. And I guess with that, let's go ahead and just get into the news on the march.
Alrighty.
News on the march.
Thank you for joining me here in News on the March, sir.
You're welcome.
So first on the docket, I think we have a show that has recently come back for its 3rd season with a 3-episode premiere. And why don't you get us started? Justin, what show am I talking about?
You're talking about The Boys. I'm not going to drag out the suspense because I think you did it enough. But yeah, The Boys from Amazon Prime, that debuted, and they dropped all 3 episodes on the first day. Or not all 3 episodes, but the first 3 all at once on the first day, right?
Yeah, I think they did that with season 2 as well.
Yeah, so there are 3 episodes out, I think, as of recording this. I have seen all 3. Mike, have you seen all 3?
Yes, I have.
Cool. So we're both, I think, if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, we've talked about this show every time it's been released and been new. I think we're both big fans of it. I'm a big fan of the show. It's certainly not for everybody. It's kind of this, if you haven't seen it, it's kind of this very R-rated version of like a world where superheroes exist. But most of the superheroes are pretty corrupt and bad. And there's a lot of corruption, corporate sort of corruption and greed surrounding them. And there's a lot of terrible, gross, violent things that happen in the show. So very much like a rated R, dark, twisted superhero show in the vein of Watchmen. But I've enjoyed the show a lot so far. It's probably one of my favorite shows that's currently airing, even if at times it's a little bit over the top and it's not for everybody. I think it's really great. I love just the world that they've built. Like I'm so excited that this season 3 is coming out because it's just a world I love spending time in and seeing like what new things they kind of, satirize from our real world and apply it into a world where there's corrupt superheroes and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, this season so far has already shocked me within like 15 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah.
There's, I've seen a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of like the really messed up things, the list of like shocking movies and stuff. I've seen a lot of them. And I was still surprised by some things that happened in this season already.
Yeah, sure.
What say you, Mike? How are you feeling about it so far?
Yeah, like you said, it is not a show for everybody. It's pretty violent, but I would say every time it goes over the top and kind of ridiculous in the violence, it all of a sudden will redeem itself with some kind of witty observation about our real world or some kind of comment on it that is just... It's weird to have a juxtaposition of such juvenile, ridiculous violence juxtaposed with like really smart, observant satire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I can't remember if it was in the 2nd or 3rd episode of the season, but maybe it's just between the 2. But, we go from a juvenile sort of silly parody of a Hallmark movie or a Lifetime type movie to ridiculous violence, just like the most ridiculous, like gore and blood and guts, like explosion type stuff that you can think of, to like really poignant political satire with like a NRA type gun rally all within. And so like the way the show just moves through all of those different things is wild.
Yeah, and like you said, most of the superheroes aren't really heroes at all. They're more treated like celebrities and athletes that are constantly messing up through some depraved sex act or some accidental murder where their powers got out of hand or whatever. And then it's up to the corporations to help clean it up and do a bunch of PR work and then rehabilitate them for the public. And so you have this weird thing where it's like some of the most powerful beings in existence, instead of saving the planet from Thanos or whatever, they're concerned with their book deal or their paycheck or their contract or who gets a slot first in some kind of presentation with a bunch of superheroes and who's captain and who's not. And it's like all this really like petty, like almost like athletes or actors acting childish. And it's really interesting how they managed to do that and make it not feel lame, I guess is the best word. Because like it seems like so easily on paper this could be preachy or this could be a little too on the nose. But I don't know. In my opinion, The Boys manages to slide around this kind of stuff pretty gracefully.
Yeah. And to your point, I think it's like before they save the world from Thanos, they're going to check what the approval rating polls would say if they did that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to be very measured and corporate, their response to it.
Yeah. But it does skate those things. I have a feeling that if you're directly one of the groups or types of people that are targeted by the political satire, that you'll probably not feel the same way as like that the show is being subtle and skating, because you might feel kind of attacked.
Well, let me ask you, do you think the show is exclusively like a left-leaning thing, or do you think it kind of like, I mean, I think it skewers everyone when it can. It's maybe a little more unkind to like maybe right-wing media, but do you think that like it's attacking any one group more than everyone else, or do you what do you think about that? Because I was kind of wondering that this season as well. I feel like this is the most openly political and commenting, like they've always been political, but I feel like this season really kind of dialed it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think that while it might have some regular people influenced by like the right or left wing media within the show, it seems to target the higher ups within the organizations, right? Or within the factions. Like that's who's on trial more than anything else. The corporations, the media outlets, the people controlling the show, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think it's exclusively them attacking the right either. Like, they're out there. I don't think it's much of a spoiler. I won't get into names, but their character, allegory, the substitute for AOC is basically a villain too, So I think it kind of portrays both sides as equally lost to the culture that we're in.
Yeah, I think it has an equal view towards like the kind of stuff that everybody can agree on, of like, or at least like ideas that cross both party lines or whatever. Sure. Of like, the government is not doing the best that it could do, and we demand more from it, and it should be better. And there's corruption all over the place. Right.
Yeah. There's corruption like in every facet of this this show.
Like I think it's pretty even-handed. It's just sometimes I think it tends to really hone in on specific programs that like seem like they're more parodies of like specific right-wing media programs than parroting like something like CNN or MSNBC or something.
Well, sure. No one watches MSN and CSNBC, and unfortunately Fox is like the most viewed news network on TV. So
it's the easiest one to take on.
Yeah, it is the easiest one to take down, and the one that arguably is doing more damage. But that's neither here nor there.
Different conversation.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
But I mean, I think so far. This season, I believe, takes place like a year or so after the second season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's like, so we get to like see where these characters have gone over the last year of the events of the second one, which kind of I'm really enjoying because it makes it not feel quite the same. Like season 1 and season 2 kind of feel a little samey, I
agree. It feels like season 1 and 2 are one complete arc that finished in a very satisfying way, and this is sort of like part 2 of the show in my brain.
Yeah, so it's very different, and I'm enjoying it so far. I think we've said in the past, but like Homelander is just a fascinating character.
Yeah,
to me.
And if you haven't watched the show, great. Homelander is basically like, what would Superman be like if he were raised in a lab and poked and prodded his whole life and never really had anyone love him,
Yeah, completely like narcissistic.
Yeah, completely narcissistic, and the product treated like a product by a corporation to be controlled. But like, how far can they really control, a Superman? Mm-hmm. He's going to do what he wants to do eventually, and that's like just waiting for that to happen is pretty horrifying sometimes in that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that they do is how they manage to have him like continually push what he should be able to get away with, but still somehow end up getting away with it.
Yeah.
That's fun to watch. That's one of the more fun aspects of like the whole like corporate cleanup thing you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of like they may not agree with the corporations at all times, but these superheroes are basically like the corporations, like, you know, feed them, wipe their butt, you know, like take care of all their problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how far can they really get away with like controlling a man that is essentially a god before he gets fed up with that? Like, and so far it seems like they've been doing a really good job, but I think that's the tension that the show lives and dies on, right? Is that how far can they really, like, how long can this last before real, like things that can't be undone are done, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a good show, and it continues to be a good show. It's, like you said, it's a little bit much. I can understand how people might be turned off of this show, just from like sheer violence. But I don't know. To me, it's always handled in a way that's like more like shocking and funny than it is like disturbing and horror-esque.
Yeah, it'll show it to you, and you'll see it, but it doesn't feel like it revels in it, you know? Like, I think if you can handle the Saw movies, you could handle this pretty easily, because it's not quite as like, let me show you close-ups of really excruciating things and try to make you feel
it's always quick and shocking.
Yeah. You're just like, blink and you miss it.
Yeah. And then you just see a lot of aftermath of it. And then yeah. But I recommend it.
Me too.
It's still good.
Me too.
Wish Chris were here. I wonder if he's seen it yet.
I don't know. I know he's a fan, so I would guess he would still like this. So it's probably 3 recommendations.
Yeah, I can't imagine enjoying season 1 and 2 and then not enjoying this one, because it's everything that you come to expect from the show.
Yeah,
so far.
Wasn't there a spinoff, like an animated thing that Amazon Prime did?
Yeah, I watched a couple of them. They're like little 10 to 15 minute, like little like Looney Tunes, like what are those called? Those old medleys that they used to call them, where it's like just like a little 10-minute cartoon set in the universe of the boys. Like the one I saw was like a super baby with laser eyes was like trying to be protected by someone, and he was like, it's kind of like a Baby's Day Out situation.
Oh, fun!
But a lot of death. Pretty dark, but yeah, I mean, they seem pretty cute. They kind of take place with like peripheral characters. Like, from what I understand is like there's a reference in, I think, episode 1 where a character's like she references something called like Red River, which hasn't really been referenced in the show that much, but apparently in one of those cartoons it kind of explains to you what Red River is. Okay.
So it's part of it, but not necessary viewing, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't seen them all, and I don't feel like I'm lost, but at the same time, they're enjoyable enough to where, I mean, just sit down and watch 2 or 3 of them at a time. It's like, that would take you 30 minutes to watch like 3, you know?
Right. Well, cool. Maybe after the season's over and I'm still
feeling that itch.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all I have on Boys Season 3.
Sweet. Me too. I don't have anything else.
Cool. Well, you want to take us to our next thing, which is another TV show that debuted recently?
Absolutely. So our next topic, as per the show notes and what I said at the top of the show, is the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which has premiered on Disney+. It premiered 2 at once, and then I think like 5 days later, episode 3 dropped. And then tonight, episode 4 will drop.
Yay.
Yeah, but we're not talking about episode 4, so don't expect that here.
We couldn't. I mean, we could, but...
Yeah, even though this will be out by the time episode 4 is out, you'll just have to make do with us talking about the first 3.
Yeah.
So, anyway, a little bit of background. I think if you listen to this show, it won't take you long to figure out that I like Star Wars. And Justin likes Star Wars as well, but I think I could tend to go on long tangents about Star Wars pretty easily. So
yeah,
I'll try to keep myself reined in.
Yeah, I would consider myself, above average, like more than a casual fan of Star Wars, but I would still say that you're a bigger Star Wars fan than I am.
Yeah, and nowhere near the biggest. I can't name you like every ship or minor character, but I can name a lot of them. Yeah. But anyways, so I probably will have a slight bias on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let me just be honest with you. But based on the first 3 episodes, and I think we'll try to start out with non-spoilers, but we may get a little spoilery near the end of this conversation. So if it ever gets too much for you, skip on ahead in the show notes. It's all time-stamped.
Mm-hmm.
So I am really enjoying this show. It's not perfect. I have like 2 major complaints so far with the show that I can't remember if I've shared with you or not. But
you shared one of them, I think, with me. But
okay. Well, basically, for the most part, I've been really enjoying it. It's slow. It's character based. It makes me view certain angles of the Star Wars saga as a whole in different ways than I did before, which I can get into a little bit near the end when we kind of get into spoilery territory. But yeah, there's lots of surprises. I think if you try to follow the greater story as a whole, I think this fills in gaps that maybe didn't need to be filled in, but now that they are, it does that fun thing that Star Wars tends to do where you kind of recontextualize things you thought you already knew.
Right.
And to me, that's part of the fun. I can understand how a lot of people may not like it. We spend a lot of time with a certain character in the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi that a lot of people I might have a problem with, but I don't necessarily. I don't think it... If anything, I would say that it bridges the 2 trilogies so far in a way that I find to be very satisfying. Because if you watch the prequels and then you go back and watch the original trilogy, they don't fit together seamlessly.
No, there's some issues if you get nitpicky.
Right, like certain little bits of dialogue here and there. But I think what this show is doing, it could be argued that they are kind of trying to patch that a little bit. Kind of like Rogue One did, where, they made a whole movie out of why is the Death Star so easy to blow up?
Yeah.
And they explained it in a way that I think makes it better in retrospect, right? I think they're doing a lot of things like that here in Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I will say that I can't talk about one thing in non-spoilers because this character was not in the advertisements, and I don't want to ruin anything just yet. But I will say that this show definitely may have been better as a movie only from the sheer fact that I think you can see the budget in the look of the show. It doesn't look like a movie. I'm enjoying the time we're spending with certain characters, so I don't know that I would prefer it to be a movie, but as far as the pure visual, like money on the screen, I think it might look better and be a little tighter with better special effects if it had a movie budget not spread out over 6 episodes.
So do you think that this looks on par with the other TV shows like Boba Fett and Mandalorian?
But think
just not on par with the movie?
Yeah, I think it looks no better or worse than Book of Boba Fett. I think Mandalorian, because they take place on certain planets that look really good, can have some moments that stand out more than this show so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it definitely, like the Tatooine stuff in this show feels a little bit small, like Book of Boba Fett. Like it doesn't look like, I don't believe they're really in a desert. Like I can kind of see like the restraints of the volume coming through here. Like this thing that, like I think in this volume contraption, it's kind of hard to film action and chase scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you're limited by space.
Right. And I think in things moving. So like, let's say like a character gets on a bus and drives from point A to point B. It doesn't necessarily look like the sun is blaring down on them like they are in a desert.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can kind of feel the restraints there a little bit. But that's my major complaint, is just that I don't know that it looks as good as a lot of like the movies we come used to. Like say what you will about Solo, but that is a very good looking, well put together movie. Same with Rogue One.
Yeah. Do you think that comes from just the fact that for me, this series is, I would say it feels like the most important series to watch for the casual Star Wars fan.
For sure. Yeah.
It fills the gaps and is a lot more connected to, the movie trilogies, like the main movie trilogies, even excluding Solo and Rogue One, which are a little, I think this feels more important to that overall story.
Yeah.
Than even those movies. So like the fact that it's so important kind of makes me want it to feel the same and look the same quality wise as the movies. And
yeah,
maybe
I think that's what it
doesn't.
is. Right. I think that's what it is. It's, because Obi-Wan Kenobi was once going to be a movie. And then the pandemic hit and then Disney Plus hit, and it made more sense for content to make it a show. And I think it's a good show. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, me too. I haven't said that yet, but I think it's great.
I'm going to hand it off to you after I finish this one thought. But just to reiterate, enjoying it, having a great time, just not movie quality. I wish maybe there was a little bit more money pumped into it, but they're not Marvel, and they are filming like 4 shows at once. So I understand why there is a limit to what we're seeing on screen, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, So, All right, those are my initial thoughts. Justin, kick us off.
Yeah, I just said I think it's great, and as I said, it is the most important Star Wars thing other than the original, like the 3 trilogy movies, or 3 trilogies of movies,
or one saga, if you will.
Yeah. So to me, I remember we were talking about the Bad Batch animated show. I think it was, or no, it was a Boba Fett show where characters from like the animated series appeared, and you and I were talking about it. I can't remember if it was on the show or some other time, but you were like, I can't believe this, like this episode. I was like, I can't believe it exists. Right.
Yeah.
And I think I had that moment with episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was, it's just so cool to me. Like
Well, do you want to get into spoilers here?
We can. I just want to. Before that, I guess I'll just say that I'm happy to have this. All of this at a lower quality is just kind of more fun to me now that we've entered this realm of so many shows, and similar to the MCU at some point. Even though Star Wars was already kind of huge, it's gonna feel huge, and I'm enjoying having all of this maybe slightly lower quality TV show content to dig through and have in my mind in the long run.
Still better than most TV shows, though.
Yeah, for sure. Rather than another movie, which I don't know. Maybe I need to revisit them. Maybe it's just me, but Solo and Rogue One are a little bit easier to forget, just by way of being shorter than a 6-episode series.
I think Rogue One sticks with me a little bit more than Solo does. I think also Rogue One's going to be fun to revisit once the Cassian Andor show comes out.
It's going to get more
because
context.
I think they already said that they're going to try to Better Call Saul it to where they walk straight into the movie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So maybe next time you watch Rogue One, it'll be the finale of a cool TV show you like.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, we can get into spoilery talk now, so we can mention some things.
Sure. Yeah. So you said you couldn't believe that episode 3 was real, that it was really happening. I had the same thing. I was watching it at 2 a.m. and I was just like, get out of town. This is nuts.
Yeah. I think the only other moment I've had close enough to that was, funny enough, in Rogue One, when we see Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Just kick some ass.
Yeah, which is what you always heard Vader could do, but unless you read comic books or something, you never got to see.
Yeah. So, it's just to see it in episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi here, it was my God. And they did such a good job of making it impactful. A thing that we're maybe expecting, right? And
it was like Darth Vader by way of Michael Myers.
Yeah, exactly. It had that sort of terror to it.
Well, and also, this is the first time, and as someone who's watched the Clone Wars and the prequels, and I've even watched the prequels a couple times in the past few years, just trying to really come to terms with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace, but I really, to this day, do not like Attack of the Clones. I think it's a bad movie. but I appreciate all the stuff that it was doing, and that it was setting up and the world building of it all. And after watching the prequels and the Clone Wars and all that stuff and reading some books over the years, this is the first time I've ever really felt the true connection, like Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, was in this episode. Because the dialogue he has is like, what have you become? And he's like, I am what you made me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it clicked for me finally. Like in live action, I can finally there's a through line between him burning up on Mustafar and then showing up in A New Hope as Darth Vader. I can visualize it now in a way that I could only understand it, just technically before. Like, yeah, I get it. Anakin, he burned up and he became Darth Vader. Yeah, I get it. Totally. But like now, just like seeing him interact with Ewan McGregor, like Darth Vader, with Ewan McGregor, and like it just kind of sold the gravity of that situation and that fear that Obi-Wan was feeling in that episode,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know if this was just a product of it being made first, but with, episode 4, we get the showdown between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, but maybe it just doesn't have that weight because maybe this all wasn't quite as fleshed out as you might want to believe, Right. Well,
and they weren't talking about the events of Revenge of the Sith because Revenge of the Sith wasn't written yet, right? So in A New Hope, you have like lots of vague dialogue about the past that is supposed to be implied, right? Like, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, and I haven't felt this presence since Trail Off, And then even in Return of the Jedi, you hear Darth Vader say something like, Obi-Wan once thought as you do, like when Luke is trying to make him good again.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Because he didn't really seem like he was trying that hard in episode 3. Like, he tried a little bit.
Yeah.
And he hasn't tried yet in the show, but I feel like he will, Like, I feel like that's still to come. And then, I don't know, like, it kind of explains other stuff. Like, the thing I didn't want to mention earlier because I didn't want to mention that little Princess Leia is a prominent character in this.
Yeah.
And since she wasn't in the trailers, I didn't really want to spoil that for anybody. But there's even stuff with like little Leia that I think makes the movies feel a little better. For example, like whenever Luke shows up and he's like, I'm here with Ben Kenobi. And she's like, Ben Kenobi? And it's like, how does she know the name Ben? She called him Obi-Wan very formally in her message to R2-D2. So I think that's kind of interesting. Also, I know a lot of people don't like the sequels, but I think this kind of like parallels those to a degree with Obi-Wan Kenobi's arc being broken. He's a lot like Luke in Last Jedi. Also, you could kind of take a step back and realize that Leia was raised to lead. She was always going to be a leader. Luke was raised to be a hermit.
Yeah.
So whenever the going gets rough, they both kind of resort to what they know in the sequel trilogy, Stuff like that. Themes. I think that the show's very smart with its themes because the thing about Star Wars is it always has to be thematically kind of rhyming with one another in George Lucas's famous phrase, right? Like poetry, it rhymes. I think that's kind of the essence of this saga is don't make it the exact same, but use these themes and use parallels because that's what it was always designed to be,
Yeah, for sure. And I love some of the things that make you said this earlier, like recontextualize stuff or rethink about stuff. One of the big ones for me was when Obi-Wan is talking to Leia and he mentions how he was taken from his family as a young Padawan Jedi, and that he wonders what his life would be. And I think this is a line where he's like, I had a brother, or at least I think I had a brother.
Yeah, he just remembers a baby in like his dad's hands and his mother's clothes or something like that.
Yeah. But that's another thing that, while we've seen young Jedi and young Padawan before, and I guess we've seen Anakin Skywalker specifically in Phantom Menace taken from his family, I don't know that we've seen much of it from the perspective of an old person looking back on, any sort of regret or potential regret or what ifs.
Right. And he was taken away as a baby. So like, it kind of like makes you realize that Anakin being taken away when he was like 10, that's probably much too late.
Right.
Because like, if Obi-Wan's having feelings of like, what if, imagine what someone who remembers their family very fondly, what kind of difficult time they would have letting go of that,
Yeah.
But overall, I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, I think you can see the TV budget. Oh, another complaint I had about little Leia. There's a scene in the first episode where she tries to evade kidnappers. This little actress is so small. I just simply don't believe she could outrun any adult ever. And she was like giving them the slip, and they're like tripping over logs and running into branches and not being able to grab her. I feel like maybe trim that down a little bit. We don't need that.
The chase scene.
It's just
she could just
badly
be caught
staged
and
action.
Yeah, she can just be caught and we're in the same boat, right?
Yeah. Just like cut to that scene where like the dudes are surrounding her, and then he throws the bag over her face, and then cut out the whole little chase scene.
Yeah, because I mean, I like, I know seeing that Leia's a fighter, right?
But they show us that in other places.
Yeah, that's cool. I think there's just a couple of shots in that chase sequence that I could feel the choreography on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I could feel run, but don't catch up to her. So like kind of half run, run a half
Give
speed.
her a minute and then do like the leg up in the air cartoon, like jolt your arms to the side and run after her.
Right. And I think there's one shot specifically it's like Leia's angle sort of, but then like the guy runs into a tree branch that she runs under.
Yeah.
But
and
it
it's
doesn't
like
make
not
any
even a
sense
big
because like
tree
from
branch.
that guy's perspective, he would be staring he's eye level with that tree branch. So like, it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. Just this little stuff like that where it's like, I get what they were trying to do, but I think they were better off just cutting the sequence down altogether, and then nothing would have been lost.
Yeah. I felt the same thing. And then I think I also felt a little bit the actress portraying Leia, Vivian Blair. A couple of times in the first episode, I felt some like line readings, a bit of acting, a bit of scripted dialogue.
Any specifics?
I think it was some of the stuff that she says when she's like talking to her. I think it's her cousin or something.
Oh yeah, she's like shutting him down or whatever.
Yeah, she's basically talking back to him and outsmarting him, making him look like an idiot for gloating. And some of that I felt, but once she's with Ewan McGregor, and maybe it's because they probably worked together a lot more than her and other random people on the show.
Yeah, some little kid.
Yeah, they've developed some chemistry and a relationship, and like once she's with him a lot, and from like episode 2 on, like I don't think I've had that anymore. But
yeah, I think that's true. The only times I've really ever got taken out of it is when little Leia was talking to that little kid, or maybe someone who's not a pro like Jimmy Smits or Ewan McGregor.
Right. Yeah. But that's like really minor. Otherwise, it's just like I'm completely loving the show, and again, it's wild that it exists. Seeing Ewan McGregor again, I think it's so fun and so cool.
Yeah. Oh, one thing about the last episode I think was pretty cool. Do you remember whenever? Crap, I forgot her name. The actress Indira Varma. I don't remember her character's name, but lady from Game of Thrones. She's running with little Leia because she's supposed to get her out of there, and then Obi-Wan goes to fight Darth Vader. And then very quickly into that fight, they both stop at once because I think they're both force sensitive. Well, we know Leia is, but I think What's-Her-Face is force sensitive too. And they both understand right then and there that Obi-Wan's not going to make it. And then little Leia's like, go get him. And then so she does. But I like the idea that like, and throughout the rest of the show even, I think little Leia is portraying force abilities without knowing what they are. Yeah. Like, she's really good at reading people. Yeah. She's really good at like calling their bluff. She's really good at like understanding like when Obi-Wan was in danger, she could just intuitively sense it. But anyway, I think that's interesting. Yeah.
I also enjoyed the Kumail Nanjiani character.
Oh yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I hope we see him again.
Yeah, I like seeing someone take advantage of the Jedi, like a swindler, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like not a totally bad guy, but he is sort of like a, like pay me, pay me and I'll get you safe, but I'm not going to get you safe unless you pay me.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think the con artist Jedi is fun.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's fun.
Also, what do you think of Moses Ingram in this show?
Just about to say, she's really great.
Yeah, I agree. She's getting a lot of hate online, and I think that sucks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to counter that and say she's really great. I like her character a lot. I find it to be the most interesting, or one of the more interesting characters other than Obi-Wan. Like whatever's going on with her. I know there's some theories about who she is and where she came from that we don't necessarily have to get into if you don't want to.
Well, I mean, I think I'm not really going to make any bold theories, but I think she has something to do with that one of those younglings at the beginning of episode 1.
Yeah,
from Order 66.
Sort of like open. Yeah. That's the one I've heard, and it makes sense. So
yeah.
But I like her a lot, and I think I'm much more into her and her character being sort of the main bad person other than Darth Vader, but like more so than the initial Grand Inquisitor guy, who I thought looked a little dopey.
Yeah, that's been a common complaint with the show, I think, is especially from people who know him from animation and comics and stuff.
Yeah.
No one really likes the look of his head. His head's too short and round.
Yeah.
Whereas that species usually is portrayed with an elongated, like egg-shaped head, like a cone head.
Yeah. I've seen it, and I guess I don't necessarily have the complaint from just like, oh, he should look more like what it should be. It's just something like looking at him, I couldn't quite take him seriously. So I don't know that he's gone forever, but I like Moses Ingram being kind of the main Inquisitor person.
Well, I like how they portray the Inquisitors as like just being like ridiculously ambitious and cutthroat with each other.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the kind of work environment Darth Vader fosters, And I think that's fun. Also, real quick, this was introduced in like comics and in Rogue One and all that stuff, but I don't know. It's cool that Darth Vader has a castle. Like, he doesn't need a castle. Like, I didn't know he had a castle until the Disney era, Like in the original movies, I thought he was just hanging out on spaceships all the time. But I like that he has a castle.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just a cool thing for him to have.
Yeah, it's certainly an evil thing for him to have.
Yeah, his little throne room, his little window out to a bunch of lava. Anyway, I like it. So, cool. Anything else you want to say about Obi-Wan Kenobi before we get into this main review?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed that. Now it's time for the main review of Top Gun Maverick.
Let's go.
What do we have here? Yeah, here I thought we were special.
Fellas, this here's Bagman.
Hangman.
Oh, whatever.
What the hell kind of mission is this?
Everyone here is the best there is. Who the hell are they going to get to teach us?
Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell. Let me be perfectly blunt. You are not my first choice. You are here at the request of Admiral Kazansky, a.k.a. Iceman. He seems to think that you have something left to offer the Navy. What that is, I can't imagine.
With all due respect, sir, I'm not a teacher. Just want to manage expectations. Someone's not coming back from this.
Those are your pilots. Anything happens to them.
Smoke in the air!
You'll never forgive yourself.
No turning back now.
Come on! Jeez!
Having any fun yet?
All right, so as always with our newer films, we will be doing a spoiler-free section up front. We'll be giving our general thoughts on the film and general comments on it. So we won't be giving any spoilery details away. And before we do, we'll give you a warning, a spoiler alert. We'll play a bumper so that you have plenty of time to pause the podcast, go watch Top Gun Maverick, and come back and finish listening.
That's right. So Top Gun Maverick was directed by Joseph Kosinski. It stars Tom Cruise, Jennifer Connelly, and Miles Teller. The IMDb synopsis says, after more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, dodging the advancement in... Wait, I fucking skipped a line. Hang on. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him.
Accurate, but
yeah,
long.
Sure. Yeah. So long I skipped a line the first time I read it.
Could have just said sequel to Top Gun. That's all it really needed to be.
Yeah. Tom Cruise flies planes. Yeah, so why don't you get us started with this, sir? You saw it most recently.
Yeah,
I saw
yesterday.
it opening weekend. Yeah, it's still like number one at the box office. People are still talking about it. So what say you, sir? How was it?
Yeah, I mean, not to beat around the bush too much, I guess, but, Top Gun, the first one, I've never really been a big fan of. I don't think I'm alone in that. Seems like almost everybody I've talked to about this movie.
It seems a generational thing. Like if you were born before like 1985 or whatever, or like 84, you probably like it.
I'm on the cutoff there. I was born in 86, so I'm not a big fan. But yeah, to that point, my mom, my mother-in-law, absolutely loves it. So my wife knows the movie really well. She was looking forward to see this. Even if she doesn't like the movie, she's seen it a ton of times with her mom. So
sure, yeah.
So yeah, generational maybe. But
I was always more of a Hot Shots guy myself.
Yeah, same. Hot Shots and Airplane were my flight movies of choice, I guess. But yeah, this one, I wasn't particularly excited about it. I was like, yeah, don't care. I can probably skip it unless I'm just particularly compelled to, which at the end, I guess I was, because the word of mouth about this movie was really, really positive.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I won't spoil it, but I saw your Letterboxd rating for it and thought, okay, maybe I should go see this then.
Yeah.
So I saw it yesterday. Bottom line, I mean, this movie is a ton of fun. I think most people know that they shot a bunch of this stuff for real. They put cameras onto real F-18s and trained the actors and stuck them up in these planes.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's nuts. And, not that I'm in favor of endangering people's lives, but like, I don't really consider this quite endangering people's lives. Like, it's not on the same level of like, I don't know if you remember that documentary that came out a long time ago that we watched called Not Quite Hollywood, about the like Australian cinema of the 70s, where they would just shoot live rounds at actors' heads so it would ricochet off the rocks next to them.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that wouldn't fly these days. I
don't think so. So this is not on that same level, and obviously there's training and a lot of safety that goes into it. But I am glad that they did that, I guess. And because it pays off. I mean, I almost don't care what the rest of this movie is like, like the story, because it looks so good and it feels so intense. All the flight sequences, not even just the action sequences, but where they're just flying around. It's so fun. Like, I could watch that forever. And the quality of the rest of the movie is a bit irrelevant at times. That said, I think the rest of it is pretty good. Like, I think it's decent. I like it more than I like the original. Yeah. It's maybe a little textbook in a lot of places for both sequel films and like military based films where there's a mission. You've got grumpy colonels and somebody defying orders, and that sort of stuff is all kind of like textbook. But to me, it's like good enough that it's not distracting or bringing the movie down at all. Like, it's being like perfectly level so that when we get to our action sequences and our flight sequences, we can just not be in a bad mood at all or not be brought down by anything and just enjoy the heck out of them. Or at least that was my experience. I thought it was thrilling and fun, and I could have watched them for a really long time. And it's just impressive to me. In all, impressive filmmaking, and it looks good. I think it was Mission Impossible Fallout, where they did some real helicopter stunts with Tom Cruise and attached cameras to the helicopter. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember in the theater, and when I was talking about afterwards, is I had a little bit of complaints about the cinematography in those, of like, yes, it's cool that we can strap cameras on, but like it doesn't quite look as good as the rest of it. And I feel like they've perfected that here in Top Gun Maverick because it all looks great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're putting cameras in probably more strategic places to look good in this one, I think. Like, strapping a camera to the bottom of the helicopter, I don't think there's a lot you could do to make it look... I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know?
But even the ones from like... There were ones from like the side that were like really wide angle of Tom Cruise flying the helicopter in Fallout.
Yeah, and those, it gave me the impression that they literally pointed like 15 cameras at a stunt, and they were just like cutting it together through lots of angles, right? Like, and they were just kind of seeing what fit best. This was like, if we put the camera here in the cockpit, it's going to look great the whole time, you know?
Or like, let's make sure we have a camera here for this exact moment, because there's a lot of emotional stuff that's happening, you know, in those cockpits.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot of the like emotional climax type stuff happening in there. And anyways, I think it's great. It's a fun action movie. Super, super, super fun. And that's really all it needs to be. And that's what it is. And I think a movie that should be seen in theaters. And I don't say that often. So I'll leave it there. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So as you kind of said earlier, my Letterboxd review is pretty high for this movie. It's not perfect. I don't think it's a perfect movie. But I will say that this was a movie-going experience that I have not had in many a year. The audience to this movie was insane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, you had a bunch of people, and I'm 35 years old, which sucks to say out loud, but I'm 35 years old, and I think I was probably amongst the youngest people in that audience. And one of the least rowdy. And I don't know, I think my theater-going experience sort of painted my perception of this movie because, I mean, the whole gambit was run. There's people laughing. There's people cheering. There's people crying. People laughing again. Everything that you would want, like, out of an audience reaction in a movie was happening in this, right? And, like, there was a group of people behind me. I think they were all, like, couples in their, like, late 40s.
Yeah.
And they were eating it up. Like, every time Maverick got grounded and John Hamm yelled at him, they were like, you know, like they were just in it. And that was just really cool. Like, this sort of electricity in the air that I haven't felt. Like, yeah, I've gone to see like Avengers Endgame and I've seen people clap when Captain America holds Thor's hammer or whatever, right? But this was different. This is a different demographic cheering.
Yeah,
as if they were watching Captain America pick up Thor's hammer, and really what it was like Tom Cruise like playing volleyball or like football on the beach, you know, like they were just in it. And I don't know, it brought me back to a time of like watching movies in theaters like in the early 2000s and in the 90s, whenever you could get more than just comic book fans in the seats, and you could watch like, I don't know, it reminds me when I saw Air Force One in the late 90s when I was like in 5th grade. And everyone cheered when Harrison Ford killed Gary Oldman, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
when
something...
he kicks him out of the plane, I think.
Yeah. It's like just something about this screams of a movie from a bygone era that isn't made anymore and likely won't be made that often in the future. Well, I don't know, this movie's doing gangbusters, so who knows? But you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like something... Like, there's been a movie for adults shaped hole in the landscape of big blockbuster movies for a while now. And I think this movie rises to the occasion. Like you said, it's not perfect. Like, it's pretty much beat for beat Top Gun with like a little bit of extra stuff added into it, plot-wise. Yeah. But they try to stick as close to the Top Gun formula and plot as possible. And I think that's pretty good. You know what you're in for, right? It's a different lady this time, different love interest, Jennifer Connelly. But yeah, and Tom Cruise is like the teacher this time. But man, other than that, a lot of the dynamics are the same. Like, you have a new Iceman, you have a new Goose, same old Maverick, you know. Yeah. But like the tried and true pieces are there. It feels like Top Gun, And as someone who's never really been a huge fan of Top Gun, but I've appreciated it over the years, like other Tony Scott movies.
Yeah.
I think this movie leans into it in all the best ways, where it's still corny, but not quite as corny as Top Gun, the original, is.
Yeah. I mean, they even more or less copy the opening credit sequence, and the like volleyball sequence is substituted for a football sequence on the beach. But
right, and then there's the Great
identical.
Balls of Fire scene in the bar.
Yeah, which I can't take credit for this, but I saw someone tweet that, like, you know, the most unbelievable, unrealistic thing about Top Gun Maverick is that all of these kids know every word to Great Balls of Fire.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I honestly believe that, like, no young people, well, not no young people. I mean, I knew this song, but, like, I feel like part of the reason that song's so popular is because Top Gun made it popular.
Yeah.
With, like, a new generation. Because it was an old song when Top Gun came out.
Yeah.
So these young recruits don't have the benefit of having Top Gun come out in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, I know the song, but I don't know any words to it other than goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I saw that too. That was pretty good. I will say that Kelly McGinnis isn't really missed in this. I think Jennifer Connelly steps in and fills that void kind of nicely, and I appreciate the relationship with his love interest more than I did in the original Top Gun, because in the original it was just sort of like, I don't know, does he want to romance Kelly McGinnis, or does he want to romance Iceman? I don't know. You know, what's the difference? This movie, I think they were very careful to sidestep those vibes.
Mostly. Most of the time.
Most of the time? Okay.
Yeah. Well, not
you still
between...
felt a little bit of that subtext in there?
Only in... Not between specific characters, I guess I'll say.
Okay.
Man, I can't go into it too much. But as far as the theater goes, I will say, you know, I saw this at a matinee on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get the biggest crowd, but it was about half full still for a movie that's been out for a little while.
Yeah.
And even with the smaller amount of people, there were still cheers, you know, later on in the movie.
Good.
When certain things happened. They were literal, like, cheers and clapping, and, you know, which you don't experience that often, at least not with a small crowd anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I would hate for you to miss out on that experience completely.
Yeah. I'm sure it's better seeing it on, like, opening weekend or opening night or whatever.
With a bunch of Top Gun nerds that are excited to see it.
Yeah. What'd you think of Miles Teller?
Good. He was good. I feel like maybe the mustache wasn't necessary. I feel like we could get that he was Goose's kid without the exact same Goose mustache, but that's okay.
You mean by all the lines of dialogue about it and all the...
Yeah. And him being called Rooster instead. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they could have done it, but I get it. I mean, visually, but it's working. I don't know. I'm...
Yeah. Miles Teller's kind of fallen out of... I don't want to say, like, fallen out of, like, appeal, but I feel like sometime after Whiplash, I think people started turning on him a little bit. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's
Fantastic
a bad person.
Four, maybe?
Maybe. But it was fun to see him back and in top form here. He was good. He was likable. He seems like a more likable Shia LaBeouf to me. They've got similar energies.
Yeah, I can see that. And my wife has shown me that he's all over TikTok because of this movie. You know, the scene of him dancing without a shirt on during the fuotball scene and stuff is like... Yeah,
the marketing campaign for this in the second week is a lot of that football game.
Yeah, but so maybe he's going to be, you know, new hot thing after this.
But yeah, this movie is a lot of good-looking people being good-looking. Flying planes, working bars.
It's that.
John
football. Hamm is the grumpy...
Yeah.
Commander.
One of the least good-looking people is John Hamm. Being stern and grumpy. So if that's what's going on, you're probably in good hands.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't... do you have much more for non-spoilers?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay, the opening sequence was awesome.
Uh-huh.
Like, whenever he's trying to, like, go to Mach 10 or whatever.
Oh, and, yeah.
Yeah, and he ends up, like, in another state or whatever. He's, like, has no idea where he's at, and he could be, like, across the country.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil the line, but the line when he asks, "Where am I?" Like, the answer that he gets is really funny.
Yeah, that was really great. And we'll get more into it in spoilers, but I will say that I think what really, in my opinion, put this movie above and beyond the first one, to where it's just like I was on the edge of my seat, was the third act. Yeah. This movie has a significantly better and more interesting and heartfelt third act than the original Top Gun. And so I was not expecting the third act to go where it went. And it to a lot of cheers from the audience. I think it was a big hit. So yeah, that's my final thoughts and non-spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Strong recommend.
On the third act thing?
Yeah, totally. It's great. It's the best part of the movie for me.
Yeah, for real. Because that's when it stops trying to be Top Gun and starts trying to become something new.
Yeah. Starts trying to be a great action movie.
Yeah.
And actually, real quick, before we get into spoilers, we did have a spoiler-free listener question that we could do. And this comes from Matt Ward, frequent guest of the show, I guess.
Yeah, friend of the show, Matt Ward.
Friend of the show. Good guy, overall.
Yeah, smart guy. Good reviews. Read them.
Yeah, cinematic considerations. That's what it is. Which I read his Top Gun Maverick review, and it's good.
Yeah, and full disclosure, he actually hit us up and wanted to be on the show possibly, or talk about it with us last week, but we couldn't record last week, so
yeah,
we miss you, Matt.
Yeah. But anyways, his question is, what call signs would you give to your fellow podcasters? And caveat, you can't assign one to yourself, so I can't do my own. So, Mike, you have to do mine for me. Do you want to get us started? Then I'll do you.
Sure. Okay. So my call sign for you is in the vein of goose and rooster. You're chicken gizzard.
Oh.
Because you're the only person I know that is not a senior citizen that likes to eat chicken gizzards at Chicken Express.
Oh man.
And they look like fried tenders, but like they're black under the breading.
Yeah, technically, I don't want to mess up your name, but technically those are chicken livers.
Livers. Oh, okay.
But yes,
chicken liver works too.
Yeah. It does, and I love them. I actually a couple weeks ago I made a specific stop because there's not anyone near where I live, but I was out of town and I made a specific stop just so I could get some because I don't get them that often.
Okay, chicken livers then.
Yeah,
even
they're
grosser.
So good. I'm sorry you think it's gross and you don't have the palate.
I don't.
To appreciate them.
Yeah. So that's your call sign. Chicken liver. Lizard. Chicken liver.
Thank you. All right. Yours is maybe cooler. Maybe slightly cooler.
Oh, now you make me feel bad.
Yeah, that's my intention with saying that. But yours is Marshall.
Oh.
Because you love the movie We Are Marshall with Matthew McConaughey.
Do I?
No, that's just kidding. What's that? You're the biggest fan of Westerns that I know, and you showed me a ton of Westerns. So I just think of you anytime I see a Western movie.
Oh, that's a high honor. Thank you.
So I thought Marshall because, I mean, there's a lot of outlaws. I thought about Outlaw too. Yeah. Like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly type, but I more often think of you when I think of something like Rio Bravo or The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, where John Wayne's playing some sheriff or marshal or whatever.
Sure, I'll take it. Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks. I feel good about that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, chicken liver.
Yeah, no problem, Marshall. Got your back, or I'm on your 6 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, Marshall seems more in vein with their little helmets.
It is. Chicken liver is a lot to write on a helmet.
Yeah, you can just call you liver.
Yeah, liver might work. So one more. Chris can't be here today, but I don't want to leave him out. So we get the honor of assigning Chris a call sign.
We tag team this one together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll let you list what the name is, but I think we came to it because Chris once told me he doesn't like music.
Yeah. Which doesn't really like it. Doesn't really get into it.
Yeah. He listens to audiobooks in the car, I've heard a lot, and I'm sure he listens to other things too, but apparently he doesn't really like music. He doesn't really have a playlist of songs that he likes. And to me, that was insane because I listen to music all the time and I love music.
Yeah, same. It's one of my favorite things. It might even beat out movies sometimes.
Yeah, Justin's an actual musician who's been in bands. So
True.
So we decided to name Chris
Maestro.
Justin? Maestro. Yeah.
That's his call sign.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, so the old Maestro. But yeah, like literally, I think the songs I've seen Chris get the most excited about to hear, like when I'm in my car, is if like it was a big moment in a movie or a TV show.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
like Don't Stop Believin' is like, oh, it's the song from the end of Sopranos. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was our thought process. So there you go, Chris.
Maestro.
You're our maestro. Yeah.
All right, now we can move into spoilers, I think.
All right, let's do it.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
Give me one cigarette you got up there. I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
All right, Mike, we're in spoilers. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So right before we got into spoilers, I talked about how, in my opinion, the third act really kind of sealed the deal for me and in boosting this movie up a whole nother level, probably a whole nother star rating. Because before the third act, before this happens, you're sort of really riding the line of like, yep, I remember Top Gun. You know?
That's true.
But in the third act, all of a sudden, it's like, what if Top Gun like had a third act child with Behind Enemy Lines or something? I don't know. And that's what happens, right? He gets shot down, and then there's this whole epic sequence where he gets saved by Rooster, and their characters get into a situation where they have to steal an old like F-14, like they flew in the olden days. And it's just a fun little adventure, you know, and you feel the team coming together, and you feel like despite all their differences and all the petty fighting and the jealousy and the cockiness and the posturing, these guys like each other. And they don't want to see anyone get hurt, you know? And even like the new Iceman, I can't remember his name.
Hangman is his call sign, yeah.
There you go. Hangman. Even Hangman gets a really cool moment. Like, he gets more of a moment than Iceman got in the original Top Gun to redeem himself and be charming and be cool.
He saves the day. Saves Maverick and Rooster.
Yeah, and then Maverick and Rooster's little, like, bonding inside the plane and, like, that kind of, like, argue, getting along, two dudes trying to work together to solve a problem situation. That was all just, like, really fun for me. Like watching him fire up the plane and then Miles Teller run around and like unplug all the little things and get it ready, and like trying to decide whether or not they should run or walk to the plane because they're just strolling in their American fighter pilot suits.
That was fun. Like that walk from like the woods to the hangar was really fun for me.
Yeah, and Miles Teller's being a good comic relief to Tom Cruise, and I don't know, it's just that's when the movie's really working for me on like all levels.
Yeah, there's this moment that I think it worked so well that I had that feeling of like, okay, this is really great. this whole section of the movie, and it's after Miles Teller comes back and saves Tom Cruise and blows up like the helicopter that's about to shoot him, and then we see Miles Teller, Rooster, parachute down, and then Tom Cruise runs up to him, and it looks like he's gonna run up and like. There's a vibe of like, oh, he just saved your life. Like, this is going to be great. And he runs up and he just like two hands shoves him to the ground instead of embracing him like you think he might.
Yeah.
That was really funny. And also just, it worked really well.
Yeah. And also I like how, because I thought they were doing this for the first like 20 minutes of the movie. I thought this was going to be Tom Cruise's first time seeing Goose's kid, like in the military. And they were going to have to like get to know one another. But the movie actually, I think, is really clever about that because they already have a rapport. Like Tom Cruise or Maverick was already a part of his life growing up. Yeah. Iceman and Maverick both took a hand in raising Goose's kid, which I thought was really cool. But the arc isn't, let's get to know Goose's kid. It's like, let's let Goose's kid forgive me because I was parenting him too much and babying him, and he knows it. And that's what like ruined their relationship. And so, in the trailers, I was thinking, oh no, okay, he's going to have to be like, I know you were responsible for my dad's death or whatever.
Yeah.
But the movie kind of like cleverly sidesteps that. It makes the arc a lot more heartfelt and a lot more complex, while not being very complex, but still more complex than what I thought we were going to get, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that wouldn't work really that well. If the issue between them was, you know, Goose was your wingman and you let him die, and like I blame you for my father's death, because like as military members, that's something that is inherent risk of the job, you know?
Yeah, like you're setting up to fly jets, like one of the most dangerous things you could do in the military. Yeah,
right. And so to have it be, you know, you dismissed my papers or whatever it was, like you got rid of my application from like to the Navy or whatever. So like you set my career back about 4 years and you wouldn't let me do the thing that I dreamed of doing, is like a much better, much more understandable thing.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. And let's talk about Iceman, because I mentioned him earlier. You know, Maverick and Iceman, it seems like they don't talk every day, right? But they're in touch. They text each other, and they were both, apparently, as it turns out, looking after a rooster once his mom died, you know, or once, you know, so like Rooster's all alone in this world. And I like how they still feel enough loyalty to Goose all these years later to make sure his kid is on the straight and narrow, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. And were you surprised to see Val Kilmer?
I wasn't, but I was pleasantly surprised with the heartfelt moment that they gave him.
Yeah.
I figured he would be in it to some degree, right? But like Val Kilmer's not in good shape these days. So
yeah, that's why I was wondering how much they could do with him. But you know, they kind of use his condition to their advantage.
Yeah, I agree, and it just works. You know, it feels real, it feels honest, because I mean, we know what's happening with Val Kilmer. We know the sad reality of people getting sick as they get older. So you know, it's that's probably the most intelligent way they could have written it in. You don't want some like CGI recreation of Val Kilmer trying to like do too much, you know?
Right, and I guess it's just another place where this movie kind of blurs that line between the film and reality in a way that is advantageous.
Yeah. I mean, why keep it a secret? Why try to write around it when we've all been here the past few years? We know what's going on with Val Kilmer. It sucks.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and you know, just the nostalgia for the Maverick Iceman relationship and seeing that 30 years on, like we get that, you know. But there's this whole other layer, which is a weird. It's a weird thing to have that subsequent, like, you can almost view it as Val Kilmer too and get emotional. Yeah. And then that emotion works. Yeah. So there's interesting for the Top Gun movie to be that way.
Yeah, I agree. But you know, sometimes I think that like feels clunky when written into movies in a certain way. Like trying to acknowledge like people getting older or dying or passing and then trying to pay homage to them in the movie later. Like I'm thinking most recently of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't watch it.
Okay. Well, what's his name? Help me.
Bill Murray.
Who died? No, who died? Harold Ramis?
Harold Ramis, yeah.
Yeah. I
was going to say Ivan Reitman, but he wasn't actually in the movie.
No. Harold Ramis. They make his family a central part of the plot for Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And like he left them like a mission before he died or something like that they have to kind of like uncover the mystery of, you know, with maybe the help of some old friends, you know, like, I don't know. It's like, to me, that felt a little pandering. Whereas something like this, like a couple scenes, really classy. He has a presence over the movie, but it's really just like a love letter to the actor. And I understand that Val Kilmer's still alive and he's able to do something like that. But the point is, with these like legacy sequels that come out years later, sometimes that nostalgia of trying to wink at the audience, it can get kind of, I don't know. It kind of like subtracts from the overall quality of the movie just to like be respectful.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a detriment sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like this one kind of navigated that situation really gracefully. And it even got a huge laugh in the audience, like whenever he's like, who's the better pilot or whatever. And he's like, this was a nice moment, you know?
Yeah.
It was a genuine, like a laugh from the audience, you know? Mm-hmm. So good stuff. I like it.
Yeah. And I think that's when Tom Cruise says, you could ride my tail anytime.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I believe it was to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I know the
that
lines
would
in
make the
there
most
somewhere.
sense. Yeah. What else? What'd you think of Jennifer Connelly in this?
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
I mean, she always is.
Sure.
But I liked their relationship a lot. I know is picking up vibes because my wife went and saw it with me, and I always pick up vibes when we're watching a movie and there's like some intense, like steamy chemistry going on. Like I can feel her enjoying that. You know?
Yeah, it's palpable.
And I look over at her, and she's just like kind of beaming at it and like blushing almost. So those moments are always really enjoyable. Like when that's like really successful in a movie, and I'm watching it with her.
That's fun.
So they nailed that, I will say, because she was beaming a lot.
So I will say that there was one scene where Tom Cruise does a really cool stunt. It's like very simple stunt, but it's a cool stunt, and it has to do with like him leaving her bedroom window.
Yeah.
And trying to sneak out so like her daughter doesn't see that she's like hooking up with Maverick, you know? Mm-hmm. And he jumps out the window and he like lands on the windowsill and then the ground, like the windowsill on the floor below.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a little bit of like physical prowess that like, it's just like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise likes stunts, you know? Yeah. That was a completely unnecessary shot, but it actually shows Tom Cruise like hit the windowsill and then like hit the ground like in the gravel or whatever and then pick himself back up. And that's when the daughter sees him.
Yeah,
out of the window, you know, and he realizes he wasn't able to escape without the daughter knowing. But yeah,
which is cute.
That whole sequence was good.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I'm going to make any sort of complaint, and it's
that they
minor.
only played Danger Zone once.
Yeah.
Instead of like 5 times, like in Top Gun.
Yeah, and I think Lady Gaga wrote a song like "Hold My Hand" or something that plays towards the end. Yeah,
well, that and Hans Zimmer like echoes her song throughout the score, throughout the whole movie. So it's like it's kind of building to that song in a really cool way.
But I don't know. That was maybe the only moment where I felt some of the lameness that I feel when I watch Top Gun and Take My Breath Away comes on.
Yeah, but it's lameness that it wears like proudly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a little shameless at times with like the shirtless volleyball or football scene and stuff. Yeah, but I honestly feel like it wouldn't feel like a Top Gun movie if it didn't have a little bit of that in it. Yeah. I can understand that. And that was not my complaint. We just kind of got on a tangent there and just like I didn't think that song was that great. It's certainly no Take My Breath Away. No, it's no Take My Breath Away, but I did like the song. I'm not even a Lady Gaga fan, to be honest, but yeah, I enjoyed the song in the context of the movie. Yeah. But my minor complaint was that I think I felt a little bit of the, like, let's not offend anybody so this movie can be a hit everywhere by being very generic and not actually naming who we're attacking. Yeah, the first one does that too. Yeah. Which, although I think this movie gives more clues that you can put it together that it's Iran. Yeah. Maybe I don't even know if complaint is the right word. Like I almost found it funny, like just how generic and scrubbed it was of like offending any particular country. Right. And just like there's a uranium storage facility and we need to attack it and blow it up. And okay. Well, they do say where the storage facility is, which is Iran, and at the end they do steal an F-14 plane, and the only army using F-14s anymore is Iran. Okay, well, but you're right. They do go out of their way to make sure that they don't list any specific country, which is kind of distracting, but also maybe kind of smart because it makes it feel a little more timeless. Because conflicts come and go, you know. Yeah, but Top Gun is forever, you know. Yeah, because it could have been like, I don't know how long ago they shot the movie, but like, what if they had said it was Ukraine or something? Yeah. Like that would feel horrible. Yeah, but also be weird for them to write Ukraine as the enemy. It would be, but you know. Yeah, but like you could say like they don't want to say Russia's the enemy because they want to
put this movie in theaters in Russia, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't
maybe
know
not
if that's
anymore,
a complaint.
but...
Like it's just a thing that's like funny, and I don't necessarily know.
Well, it's like because I rewatched the original Top Gun to prepare for this movie, and they do the exact same thing with that one. Only this one gives more clues. That one's just like there's no flags on the planes, just like this one. The pilots are all like completely covered, so you don't see any skin.
Yeah.
Like no flags, no skin, no like language written out on the plane, so you can put it together. They're not speaking. So yeah, it's very much like a nameless enemy. The real enemy is the fact that we can't work together as a team or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The overall mission was great too.
Yeah.
Like it was such a good, like, impossible mission, and I felt that. And they did a good job of making it feel impossible.
Yeah. That's something that I think this movie has a major leg up on over the first one, because in the first one, there's not really a mission. They're just flying planes and being in school until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. And then right as they graduate, they're like, there's a mission. You got to go shoot some planes down. This one, it's like they're working towards that mission the whole movie. So there's a little bit of momentum pushing the plot forward that the first one maybe doesn't have.
Yeah. The first one feels a little aimless for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
All right. Well, I think I'm
else?
out.
Yeah. Okay, me too.
Cool. Anything else for this episode, or does that do it?
I think that does it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, listeners, so much for listening. If you're still here at this point, thanks, Mike, for talking about Top Gun and Star Wars and the boys with me.
No problem. You can cover my tail. What is the line?
You can ride my tail anytime.
You can ride my tail anytime, any day, whatever it is.
Yeah, and of course, also thanks Jake Wagner-Russell for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
All right, everybody, stay tuned to this channel. Our next episode will either be David Cronenberg's Crash or Jurassic World Dominion. It's too early to tell if we're going to have all three of us here or not, so one of those. Yeah. But at the very least, we'll at least be talking about Jurassic World Dominion, or I will, regardless of what we review.
Well said.
Thank you.
All right. See you later, Marshall.
See you later, chicken liver.